Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 2 of Tour of the Basque Country. Now, today's race at over 190 kilometers, about 120 miles in length, is long, has 5 categorized climbs, but it's the last category 2 that's over 11 kilometers and just over 3.2% average is going to be what could highlight today's finish of stage 2. But the trick is, do the big GC riders here, the big time climbers here at the Basque Country, are they going to want to really give it to each other on a climb that's averaging 3.2%? Yes, it's long at 11 kilometers, but it's not very steep. Couple sections at 8%, but really it's a steady climb going all the way up to the finish. But it is a bit of a long stage. So when the stage starts, we're going to see 6 riders up the front. It's the KOM leader up there, John Baraneccia from Caja Rural, Alan Josembe from Total Energies, Chomin Warizti from Escatel Escudi. He was in the break yesterday. Carlos Garcia from Kern Pharma is there. Jesus Esquerra from Burgos BH and Javier Romo from Astana. Those 6 riders have just about a 3-minute gap when they're going to pass today's finish line going the opposite direction. So they're going to get a look at the preview of what the final descent and what the chicane and roundabout and all the twists and turns are that's going to finish today's stage. I'll show you a picture of the peloton coming through the last roundabout that ends with 75 meters to go before the finish line, as the peloton's going to go the opposite way out and then start the climb. Now, the guys up front, they're going to have a little bit of reshuffling with that group of 6 up there, but most of them are going to come back together. And at 50 kilometers to go, when we start the next uphill rise, this is where we're going to see attack from Mikel Landa. The Bahrain victorious rider throws in the second attack going up this climb after it was EF Education's Carapaz that threw in the first, but it got brought back right away from Jumbo-Visma's Jonas Vingegaard was there. So with that being brought back, Mikel Landa is going solo up the road. And Ineos is riding the front on the climb, but not bringing back the Bahrain victorious rider Landa. As Landa catches the original group of 6 up there that's been split up, he's got a little bit of company going over the top of this climb with 3 riders attached onto his back wheel there. And they're going to have a little communication here because Landa wants the time bonus that's coming up at just about 28 kilometers to go. He'll chat a little bit with all 3 riders, and they're going to agree that Landa can have the 3-second time bonus at 28 kilometers to go, and they'll go through this nice and easy with Landa taking 3 maximum time bonuses on today's stage. Now, if things can go to plan and Landa can hold on going up the final climb with the chase group behind, because they will catch him with 18 kilometers to go, if he can hold on to this group and get some more time bonuses, he could possibly jump into the race lead at the end of today's race. But he did gain 3 seconds. Not a tactic that I would have really employed myself, because 20 kilometers is a lot of energy to spend off the front for 3-second time bonus, and it wasn't ever a given, but he did get it, so in the end it played out well. Now, as we see Landa getting caught, he's getting past. It's Lilian Call Me Jane that's throwing in attack there, going solo up the road. He'll get some company from Caja Rural Balderstone, who bridges up to him. Now, next up's the Astana rider, and it's David De La Cruz that bridges up to these 2 to make 3 up the road, but they only have about a 10-second gap on the peloton behind that's still being led by Ineos, who have been riding all day. They started off the stage with race leader Ethan Hayter riding on the front, but Hayter had gotten dropped with about 50 kilometers to go. And now we see it's Jonathan Castroviejo on the front for Ineos. Later, Lucas Plapp's going to get on the front when we're going up the final part of this climb, because Lucas Plapp's definitely got some good form. With about 1 kilometer left to go to the top of the climb, this is when we see De La Cruz get wrapped up, and now the peloton is all together. After that, we see it start going curb to curb on the right side. It's Marc Soler that starts throwing in a big-time effort. He's not trying to go solo over the top of the climb. He's trying to go into the front of the peloton. So when you drop down the crazy curvy descent all the way into the finish, he'll have a front row seat and stay out of trouble going down the descent. As we see him start the summit, Soler's all the way on the right side of the road. He's going to go all the way to the left without looking over his shoulder. Luckily, the UAE Team Emirates rider Soler doesn't crash anyone, as he's got enough gap to go over the top of everyone and start the left bend going down the descent in the front row. Now, I want you to just pay attention when we start looking at the peloton from the bird's eye view of the helicopter angle. You'll see Jonas Vingegaard. He's at the front here for Jumbo-Visma. but there's no teammates around him. Now, as peloton starts to string out a little bit, as the descent gets faster and faster, take a look in about 20th position. It's Omar Fraley from Ineos, but that is the only Ineos rider we see, because guess what? Danny Martinez was having some mechanical issues in the back, and we're talking about less than 5 kilometers to go. Up front, Alex Aramburu from Movistar's throwing in some big-time risk on the front of the peloton, trying to string it out and get a gap. He finally does when the Astana rider in front of Jonas Vingegaard opens up the gap. Jonas Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma will take about a 100-meter pull, and then the rider swings straight off to the left, and he's like, nah, I don't need to pull back Alex Aramburu because he's not a threat for the general classification, and I don't care who wins today's stage. So EF Education will start to close the gap there on Alex Aramburu, and then we'll see Jaco Alula's Sombrero jump to the front, and he'll be the final guy that closes up with about 2.5 kilometers to go to Alex Aramburu. Now we see there's splits all happening throughout the peloton, because only about 13 guys are going to get near the bottom of this descent in one piece. On the back of this 13 guys, though, is Ada Schelling, Bora Hansgrohe, and as the front guys start to slow down, because the Jaco Alula rider, Sombrero, he does not want to stay on the front any longer, they start going a little bit curb to curb, and look at Ada Schelling, Bora Hansgrohe, that's just flying by on the left side of the road with about 650 meters to go. He's reached the front of this group of 13, and now he's flying through the left bend. He'll start to string it out a little bit with the speed at the front. We see a little bit of battle, because just behind Sombrero, who's sitting in second place, now we see David Gaudu on the right side, and we see Brandon McNulty on the left, and they're going to squeeze off Alex Aramburu. Only problem for Brandon McNulty is that as we start to swing into the left bend here in the road, David Gaudu is going to push off Brandon McNulty and slot onto Sombrero's wheel. Now that puts him third position, and there's time bonuses for the FDJ rider. Brandon McNulty is going to get a little more abuse, because Alex Aramburu is going to come back just with about 200 meters to go and slot it in front of Brandon McNulty. Now up front, Bora Hansgrohe, Ada Schelling is flying. Man, the guy is not backing off the pedals at all, because he knows it's a twisty, technical descent all the way into the corners. Was something like 20 turns and bends in the road in the last 3 kilometers here at stage 2. And Ada Schelling remembers when they went through the opposite direction through the roundabout that's coming up with about 175 meters to go. With Ada Schelling going full gas as he starts left around the roundabout, he's still got just a little bit of a gap there on second place. But certainly the Jaco Alula rider, Sombrero, he's hoping to come out of this final roundabout and then give Ada Schelling a bit of a chance, a bit of a run to the line. Now Ada Schelling, as we see him exit the roundabout, he's got the bike completely leaned over. Before he even gets the bike up straight, though, the Bora Hansgrohe rider hits the pedals and starts him turning, accelerates hard, drops his head down to stay aerodynamic all the way to the line, and nobody behind can bring up any kind of movement on the first place winner, Ada Schelling from Bora Hansgrohe. Sombrero will finish second on the stage. David Gaudu, the French rider FDJ, second at Paris-Nice this year, will finish third to get time bonuses of 4 seconds on today's stage. And he's the highest on the general classification battle here at the Basque Country, but he's not high enough to dislodge Ada Schelling, who not only won the stage, but then took the race leader's yellow jersey here after stage 2. Now, in everybody's interviews, Alex Aramburu said he wasn't happy with how technical the course was and dangerous coming into the finish. Then when they interviewed Ada Schelling, today's winner and race leader, he says, first off, he didn't know he had the race leader's jersey at the end of today's stage. And second, he was complaining about how dangerous the course was, but smiling the whole time because he was happy to win today's race. The biggest victory of his short career here for Ada Schelling, and a big one here at the Basque Country because it is World Tour. So Bora Hansgrohe rider Ada Schelling, while wearing the race leader's jersey up there, he's smiling up on the podium because he knows he's going to start tomorrow's stage 3 as the race leader here at the Basque Country. Now, today's stage, I want to break down some things because it's very interesting. Stage was a bit boring until about the attack there of Mikel Landa at just under 50 kilometers to go. But it was interesting enough for you guys to pay attention to, certainly the last 5K going all the way down the descent. So if you don't have time, go back and watch that. But when I break down the details of today's stage afterwards, I'll show you how much more it's going to be interesting for tomorrow's stage 3. because when we're going up the climb, at the back of the peloton, there is Steven Kruijswijk for Jumbo-Visma, and that's one of their best climbers on the team, outside of Jonas Vingegaard, of course. But when we go to the top of the climb, I want to show you that just with about a K to go, 2K maybe, it's Jumbo-Visma, and he has a little bit of help for teammates around him. But over the top, Jumbo-Visma's Jonas Vingegaard is all by himself all the way down the top and into the finish of today's stage, which is really rare, right? So Jumbo-Visma do not have that dominating squad that we're used to seeing throughout this whole 2023 season, where as a team they have multiple numbers everywhere. Here it was just Jonas Vingegaard. One other thing, though, to point out about Jonas Vingegaard, because I think he's on the best form when we're talking about the individual riders, him and Davide Gaudu for sure, because Danny Martinez with that bike mechanical he had at the top of the climb is out of the general classification unless he could get really lucky somewhere, because at being outside of 30 seconds, I don't see Danny Martinez being able to get himself back in the general classification. So the big battle amongst the favorites is going to take place with Jonas Vingegaard, Davide Gaudu, and Mikel Landa, who was solo for 20 kilometers on today's stage. But tomorrow's stage, again, when we look at it, Jumbo-Visma's not in full strength. FDJ didn't have a bunch of power up there. Bora Hansgrohe, who won today's stage with Ida Schelling's not a pure GC rider, so he's probably not going to want to do big-time effort on tomorrow's stage 3 when it has so many steep finishes on tomorrow's stage. The last one's going to be at 10% and above for 1K going up to the finish line. So it's going to be an exciting finish, and it's going to be really hilly here at the Basque Country. So I'm not 100% certain if Bora Hansgrohe will ride to defend the race leader's jersey tomorrow. Jumbo-Visma, like I said, is not strong. You look at UAE Team Emirates, Marc Soler crashed on the descent, and I believe I read something about him breaking his thumb. And so they're down a man. Now they only have 5. It's not fully in depth with the teams up here when you start losing all of the classic guys going up north. So tomorrow when we get into the racing, could be that there's a big breakaway that wants to get up the road, because they might believe they can go all the way to the line, and it's going to take multiple teams riding on the front instead of just one team Ineos that's riding, because with Danny Martinez out of the general classification, they have no one here for GC anymore, because they've already been riding their team throughout stage 1 and stage 2, and Danny Martinez is down on the general classification. Tomorrow's stage, when the cameras come on, take a look and see who's chasing, because it's going to have to be a mixture of teams, and I can't even tell you if it'll be Bora Hansgrohe 100%. So today was a very interesting stage in terms of how the battle will evolve in tomorrow's stage 3, and then when we get into the bigger, longer, steeper climbs here at the Basque Country later in the week. Very interesting stage. Hope you guys enjoyed my take here of the Basque Country on stage 3. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next edition real soon.